Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his forehead as he struggled to lift the training weight. Around him, other cadets at the Terran Defense Academy moved the same weights with ease. Ryan Brooks, who stood next to him, was already on his third set while Jake was still trying to finish his first. "Come on, Martinez," Commander Kate Walsh called out from across the training room. "My grandmother could lift more than that, and she's been dead for 10 years. The other cadets laughed. Jake's face turned red, but he kept trying. His arms shook as he lifted the weight again. Lisa Carter, who was doing push-ups nearby, shook her head and whispered something to Alex Stone. They both looked at Jake and smiled in a mean way. Jake had been at the academy for 2 years now. Every day was the same. He failed at combat training. He was too slow in the running tests. He could barely pass the written exams. The only reason he was still here was because his father had died fighting aliens, and the academy felt sorry for him. "Martinez, you're holding everyone back," Commander Walsh said as she walked over to him. "Maybe you should think about a different career. The kitchen staff is always looking for help." More laughter filled the room. Jake put the weight down and tried to catch his breath. He looked around at his classmates. Maria Gonzalez was lifting twice as much as him. Tyler Moore was doing pull-ups like they were nothing. Everyone was better than him at everything. That evening in the dining hall, Jake sat alone as usual. He watched the other cadets talk and laugh together. Ryan Brooks was telling a story about how he had beaten the combat simulator's hardest setting. Everyone listened with big eyes and cheered when he finished. "Hey, Jake," Lisa Carter said as she walked past his table. "I heard you might not make it to graduation next month." Jake looked up at her. "I'll make it," he said quietly. "Really? Because Commander Walsh was talking to some teachers today. They think you might be too weak for the final test." Lisa smiled, but it was not a kind smile. The survival mission on Kepler 442b is no joke. People have died there. Jake's heart sank. The final test was something all cadets had to pass to become real soldiers. They would be dropped on a dangerous moon and had to survive for 3 days. It was the hardest test at the academy. "Don't worry," Alex Stone said as he joined. "Lisa, maybe they'll let you carry the water bottles for the real soldiers." They walked away laughing. Jake stared at his food but couldn't eat anymore. He had worked so hard for 2 years, but everyone still saw him as weak and useless. 3 weeks. Later, the day of the final test arrived. Jake stood with 4 other cadets on the landing platform. They would work as a team on Kepler 442b. The moon was covered in crystal caves and had dangerous animals that hunted in the dark. His team was Ryan Brooks, Lisa Carter, Alex Stone, Maria Gonzalez, and Tyler Moore. They were some of the best cadets in the academy. Jake knew they didn't want him on their team, but the teachers had put them together. "Listen up," Commander Walsh said as she checked their equipment. "You have 3 days to reach the pickup point on the other side of the Crystal Valley. The moon has thin air, so your oxygen will only last if you don't waste it. There are predators in the caves, so stay together and stay alert." She looked directly at Jake. "And remember, a team is only as strong as its weakest member. Don't let anyone slow you down." The transport ship dropped them on the moon's surface. The ground was covered in blue and purple crystals that glowed softly in the dim light. The sky was dark and 2 small suns gave barely enough light to see. "Okay, team," Ryan said as he looked at his map. "We need to cross through the crystal caves to reach the pickup point. It's about 15 miles through. Dangerous ground." They started walking. Jake tried to keep up, but his heavy pack made him slower than the others. After an hour, he was already breathing hard. The thin air made everything more difficult. "Jake, move faster," Lisa said. "We're not going to wait for you all day." "I'm trying," Jake said between breaths. They entered the crystal caves as the light outside got dimmer. The caves were beautiful but scary. Crystal walls reflected their flashlight beams in all directions. Strange sounds echoed from the darkness ahead. "What was that?" Maria whispered as a low growling sound came from somewhere behind them. "Probably just the wind," Tyler said, but his voice sounded nervous. They kept walking deeper into the caves. Jake's legs were getting tired and he started falling behind the group. The others walked faster and faster and soon he could barely see their lights ahead. Then he heard it. A loud roar that made the crystal walls shake. Something big was moving, in the darkness behind them. "Run!" Ryan shouted. The team started running through the caves. Jake tried to keep up, but his tired legs couldn't move fast enough. He stumbled over loose rocks and almost fell several times. "Jake, hurry up!" Alex yelled back at him. But Jake was getting further and further behind. The roaring sounds were getting closer. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might stop. "We can't wait for him," he heard Lisa say to the others. "He's too slow. That thing will catch all of us if we stay with him." "She's right," Ryan said. "Jake, you'll have to find another way. We'll send help when we reach the pickup point." "No, wait," Jake called out, but it was too late. The lights of his teammates disappeared around a corner, and he was alone in the dark caves. The growling was very close now. Jake turned off his flashlight and hid behind a large crystal formation. His hands were shaking as he tried to be quiet. He could hear something big moving just a few feet away from him. Hours passed. Jake waited in the darkness, too scared to move. His teammates had left him to die. He was weak, just like everyone always said. Now he would probably die alone on this strange moon, and no one would even care. But as he sat there in the dark, something inside him changed. He was angry at his teammates for leaving him, angry at himself for being weak, angry at the whole world for treating him like he didn't matter. Jake turned his flashlight back on and started walking deeper into the caves. He didn't know where he was going, but he wasn't going to just sit there and wait to die. If he was going to die, he would die trying to survive. As he walked through the crystal tunnels, he noticed something strange. The crystals were getting brighter, like they were reacting to something. The air felt different too, like it was full of electricity. Then he saw it. At the end of a long tunnel, there was a room filled with the biggest crystals he had ever seen. And in the center of the room, something was glowing with a soft blue light. Jake walked toward the light, not knowing that his life was about to change forever. Jake walked slowly toward the glowing light in the center of the crystal room. His footsteps echoed softly on the smooth floor. The blue glow got brighter as he got closer, and he could feel warmth coming from it. When he reached the center, he saw that the light was coming from inside a huge crystal formation. It was taller than him and shaped like a giant egg. The light pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Jake reached out his hand to touch the crystal. The moment his fingers made contact, the whole room filled with bright blue light. He felt a strange, tingling sensation run through his body, but it didn't hurt. It felt warm and peaceful. Then he heard a voice in his mind. It was soft and calm, like an old friend speaking to him. "Do not be afraid, young one," the voice said. "I have been waiting for someone like you." Jake pulled his hand back quickly. "Who's there?" he said out loud, looking around the empty room. "I am here, in the crystal before you. My name is Echo. I have been sleeping in this place for a very long time, waiting for the right person to find me." Jake stared at the glowing crystal. "You're inside there? Are you some kind of alien?" "Yes, I am what your people would call an alien, but I'm much older than that word. I'm one of the last of my kind, the architects. We built many things in this galaxy long before your species learned to walk upright." Jake sat down on the crystal floor. His legs were still tired from running, and this was all too much to understand. "Why are you talking to me? I'm nobody special. I'm the weakest person at my school." Echo's voice became warmer. "That is exactly why I chose to speak with you, Jake Martinez. I have watched your species for many years. I have seen your wars, your hatred, your need to be stronger than others. But I have also seen something else, something rare." "What do you mean?" "I watched you tonight. Your teammates left you to die because they thought you would slow them down. They chose their own safety over your life. But tell me, Jake, if one of them had been in danger, what would you have done?" Jake thought about it for a moment. He remembered all the times Ryan, Lisa, and the others had been mean to him. But he also remembered times when he had helped them with their homework or shared his food when they forgot their lunch. "I would have tried to help them," Jake said quietly, "even if they were mean to me." "Yes," Echo said. "That is what makes you different. That is what makes humans different from most species in the galaxy. The strong usually leave the weak behind. But some humans, like you, refuse to abandon others, even when it costs them. Jake felt confused. But that just makes me stupid, doesn't it? I mean, look where it got me. I'm stuck alone on this moon while they're probably safe by now. You think kindness is weakness, Echo said. But I have seen 1,000 worlds rise and fall. I have watched species conquer entire star systems, only to destroy themselves because they forgot how to care for their weak. True strength, Jake, comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The crystal began to glow brighter. Jake could feel energy flowing around him, like electricity in the air. Your people are still young, Echo continued. Most of them still think that being strong means being able to hurt others, but you are different. You understand that real strength means lifting others up. I don't understand, Jake said. I can't even lift weights at the gym. How is that strength? Physical power is the smallest kind of strength, Echo explained. I have seen warriors who could break mountains with their bare hands, but they were weak because they had no compassion. I have seen tiny creatures who could barely move, but they were strong because they would never let their friends suffer, alone. Jake stood up and walked closer to the crystal. What happened to your people? The architects? Echo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice sounded sad. We became too proud. We thought we were better than other species. Because we were smarter and more advanced, we stopped helping younger races and started controlling them instead. We forgot that true wisdom comes from understanding, not from power. And that destroyed you? In a way, yes. We split apart and fought each other. Some wanted to help younger species grow. Others wanted to rule over them. The wars lasted for thousands of years. In the end, most of us died, and the few who survived went into deep sleep, hoping that someday we might find a species that had learned what we forgot. Jake felt sorry for Echo. That must have been terrible. It was. But it taught me something important. Power without compassion always leads to destruction. That is why I have been waiting here, watching your people, hoping to find someone who understood this truth. And you think I understand it? You were abandoned by your own kind, left to die in these caves. You have every reason to hate them, but instead of feeling anger, you feel sadness. Instead of wanting revenge, you want to help them be better. That tells me you have learned what my people never did. Jake sat down again. So what happens now? Are you going to help me get off this moon? I can do much more than that, if you are willing, Echo said. I can share my knowledge with you. I can help you become stronger in ways your people have never imagined. But it will not be the kind of strength that makes you better than others. It will be the kind of strength that helps you make others better. What do you mean? I can give you the ability to see the hidden potential in people. You will be able to help them find strengths they never knew they had. You will be able to turn enemies into friends and make the weak become strong. Jake thought about this carefully. Why would you do that for me? Because I believe you will use these gifts wisely. And because I am tired of being alone. If you accept my help, we will be partners. Not master and servant, but friends working together to help others. Jake looked at the glowing crystal. He thought about his teammates who had left him behind. He thought about Commander Walsh, who always made fun of him. He thought about all the people at the academy who treated him like he didn't matter. He could be angry at them. He could want to show them that they were wrong about him. But instead, he found himself feeling sorry for them. They were so focused on being strong that they had forgotten how to be kind. Yes, Jake said, I want to help you. And I want you to help me. But not so I can prove I'm better than them. I want to help them see that there's a better way to be strong. The crystal flashed with brilliant light. Jake felt warmth flow through his whole body. It was like being hugged by someone who truly cared about him. Then we are partners, Echo said. And together, we will show your people what real strength looks like. 6 months had passed since Jake's return from Kepler 442b. The rescue team led by Captain Frank Cooper and Dr. Amy Rodriguez had found him 3 days later, alive and somehow healthy despite being lost in the dangerous caves. Jake never told anyone about Echo, but he could feel his new friend's presence in his mind all the time. Jake had changed after the moon mission. He was still physically weak, but something about him was different. He walked with more confidence. He spoke up. In class more often. His grades got better. But most importantly, he started helping other struggling cadets instead of just focusing on his own problems. Commander Kate Walsh noticed the change, but didn't understand it. Martinez seems different, she told Dr. Rodriguez one day. Still, weak as a kitten, but he's not as pathetic as before. Jake was now assigned to the frigate New Hope under Captain Danny Lewis. The ship was not one of the big important vessels. It was small and old, and most of the crew were people who couldn't get assigned to better ships. Jake fit right in. The crew included pilot Steve Chen, who had failed flight school twice before barely passing, engineer Linda Park, who was brilliant, but too shy to speak up in meetings, security chief Carl Johnson, who was too old for the elite ships but too experienced to retire. They were all good people, but nobody thought they were special. Captain Lewis was different from most officers. He was kind and patient. He listened to everyone, even Jake. Every person on this ship matters, he would tell the crew. We might not be the biggest or the strongest, but we can still do our part. Echo often spoke to Jake during quiet moments. Your Captain Lewis understands what many leaders do not, Echo would say. He sees value in people that others overlook. He reminds me of you, Jake would think back to Echo. Always believing in people. Then came the day that changed everything. The emergency alarms woke Jake from sleep. He rushed to the bridge where Captain Lewis was reading urgent messages from Earth Command. What's happening, Captain? Steve Chen asked as he took his place at the pilot controls. Captain Lewis looked worried. The Dominion fleet has been spotted at the edge of our space. Admiral Ben Patterson is calling every available ship to defend the Jupiter mining stations. Jake felt his heart sink. He had heard stories about the Dominion fleet. They were aliens who conquered every world they found. They had destroyed 17 star systems already, killing billions of people. How many ships do they have? Linda Park asked quietly. Our scouts counted over 300 warships, Captain Lewis said. We're gathering everything we can, but it's not going to be enough. The New Hope joined a fleet of human ships near Jupiter. Jake had never seen so many vessels in one place. There were big battleships like the Valor, commanded by Captain Nick Thompson, and fast cruisers like the Defiance under Captain Helen Martinez. But even with all these ships, Jake could tell the officers were scared. Admiral Patterson's voice came over all ship communications. All vessels prepare for battle. The Dominion fleet will arrive in 6 hours. We will show these aliens that humanity does not surrender. Jake watched through the bridge windows as the enemy fleet appeared. The Dominion ships were huge and dark, covered in sharp spikes and glowing red lights. They looked like they were built for only one purpose, destroying everything in their path. Echo, Jake thought quietly. Are we going to die? Many will die today, Echo replied sadly. But this battle will teach your people something important about themselves. The battle began badly for the humans. The Dominion weapons were much more powerful than anything Earth had built. The alien ships moved faster and hit harder. Within minutes, Jake watched the Valor explode in a ball of fire. Captain Thompson and his entire crew were gone. We can't fight them, Steve Chen said as he tried to avoid enemy fire. Their technology is too advanced. Captain Lewis kept giving orders, but Jake could see the fear in his eyes. The Defiance was badly damaged and spinning out of control. More human ships were being destroyed every minute. All ships fall back to defensive positions, Admiral Patterson ordered. But there was nowhere to run. The Dominion fleet was everywhere. Jake felt echoes stirring in his mind. The time has come, Jake. Your people need to know the truth about me. What do you mean? I can help your fleet survive this battle. But my people, the architects, made a law long ago. We only help species that have learned to value their weakest members, not throw them away. Jake understood. You want me to tell them about you? Yes. But more than that, I want you to show them what real strength looks like. Jake stood up on the bridge. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. Captain Lewis, I need to speak to Admiral Patterson right away. Captain Lewis looked surprised. Jake, this isn't the time for... Please, Captain. I know how we can win this battle, but I need to talk to the Admiral. Something in Jake's voice made Captain Lewis stop and really look at him. After a moment, he nodded. Admiral Patterson, this is Captain Lewis on the New Hope. One of my crew needs to speak with you urgently. Lewis, we're in the middle of a battle. The Admiral's voice crackled over the radio. Sir, I think you need to hear this. A few seconds later, Admiral Patterson's face appeared on the bridge screen. He looked angry and desperate. What is it, son? Make it quick. Jake took a deep breath. Admiral, my name is Jake Martinez. I have an alien ally who can help us win this battle, but there's a condition. The Admiral's eyes went wide. Did you just say you have an alien ally? Yes, sir. His name is Echo. He's one of the architects, an ancient race. But his people will only help species that have learned to protect their weak, not abandon them. Admiral Patterson was quiet for a moment. Around them, more human ships were being destroyed. What kind of help are we talking about? Advanced weapons, better shields, maybe even ways to turn the enemy's technology against them. But Echoes, people need proof that humanity has grown beyond just caring about the strong. What kind of proof? Jake's voice got stronger. They want you to put me in command of the fleet for this battle. The Admiral stared at Jake through the screen. You're just a cadet. You failed most of your training. That's exactly the point, sir. If humanity can trust its weakest member to lead, then maybe we're ready for help from the architects. Captain Lewis put his hand on Jake's shoulder. Admiral, I've served with Jake for 6 months. He may not be the strongest, but he's got something the rest of us need. Dr. Rodriguez's voice came over another channel. Admiral, I was there when we rescued Jake from Kepler 442b. Something happened to him on that moon. He's different now. The Admiral looked around his bridge. His officers were shaking their heads. Commander Kate Walsh appeared on another screen. Admiral, you can't seriously be considering this. Martinez is weak. He'll get us all killed. With respect, sir, Captain Lewis said. We're already getting killed. Maybe it's time to try something different. Admiral Patterson watched as another human ship exploded. They were losing badly, and everyone knew it. Martinez, the Admiral said finally, if I give you command, what exactly are you promising? Jake felt Echo's presence grow stronger in his mind. I'm promising that we'll fight this battle differently, not by being stronger than the enemy, but by being smarter, by working together, by making sure no one gets left behind. The Admiral closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he looked older but determined. All ships, this is Admiral Patterson. I'm turning tactical command over to Cadet Jake Martinez. All vessels will follow his orders. Jake heard gasps and angry voices from other ships, but he also heard Captain Lewis say quietly, about time someone gave the underdog a chance. Jake felt the weight of command as hundreds of human ships waited for his orders. Many captains were angry about following someone they saw as weak. Captain Michelle Davis from the cruiser Thunder spoke first over the communications channel. This is insane, she said. We're supposed to follow a cadet who couldn't even pass basic training? Commander Tony Garcia agreed. Admiral, with respect, this kid will get us all killed. The Dominion fleet is tearing us apart, and you want us to trust our weakest link? Jake listened to the angry voices, but Echo's calm presence in his mind kept him steady. Remember, Jake, Echo said, true strength is not about proving you are better than others. It is about helping others become their best. All ships, this is Jake Martinez, he said into the communication system. His voice was quiet but clear. I know many of you don't trust me. I know you think I'm too weak to lead. But I'm not asking you to follow me because I'm strong. I'm asking you to follow me because I see something in each of you that you might not see in yourselves. Some ships stayed quiet, but others kept complaining. Jake ignored the complaints and started giving orders. Linda Park, you're now chief engineer for the entire fleet, he said. Engineer Park's voice came through the radio, surprised. But Jake, I'm just a junior engineer on a small ship. I can't command all the fleet engineers. Yes, you can. Jake said. "I've watched you work. You understand ship systems better than anyone. You just need to believe in yourself." Echo's knowledge flowed through Jake's mind, showing him technical details he had never learned. "Linda, if you reroute power from the life support systems to the weapons, but only for 30 seconds at a time, you can increase our firepower by 40%. Can you send those instructions to all ships?" There was a pause. Then Linda's voice came back stronger now. "Yes, I can do that. All ships, this is Chief Engineer Park. I'm sending you power modification instructions now." Jake continued making changes that shocked everyone. "Steve Chen, you're now commander of all fighter squadrons." "Jake, I failed flight school twice," Steve protested. "But you never gave up," Jake replied. "And you know what it's like to struggle. That makes you the perfect person to lead other pilots who are scared right now." Echo whispered tactical information to Jake, who passed it on. "Steve, the Dominion ships have blind spots near their engines. If you take the fighters in low and fast, you can hit them where they're not expecting it." Captain Lewis watched from the bridge of the New Hope as Jake transformed their ragtag fleet. Jake was taking people who had always been overlooked and giving them important jobs. More importantly, he was showing them that they were capable of much more than they thought. "Bobby Turner, you're in charge of coordinating our retreat paths," Jake said to a young officer who had washed out of the academy twice. "Grace Kim, I need you to manage communications between all ships," he told a shy communications officer who rarely spoke up in meetings. Each person Jake promoted protested at first, saying they weren't good enough. But Jake kept encouraging them, and slowly they began to believe in themselves. The battle changed completely. Linda Park's power modifications let human ships hit much harder than before. Steve Chen led the fighters in attacks that caught the Dominion fleet off guard. The small, overlooked ships like the New Hope started working together like parts of one big machine. But the real change came when Echo finally revealed himself to the human fleet. "All ships," Echo's voice suddenly spoke through every communication system. "I am Echo of the Architects. I've been watching your species for a long time, waiting to see if you could learn what my people never did." The fleet communications went crazy with surprised voices. Many captains were scared to hear an alien voice. "Do not fear me," Echo continued. "I offer you partnership, not conquest. But first you must prove that you have grown beyond the mistakes that destroyed my own people." "What mistakes?" Admiral Patterson asked. "The belief that strength comes from abandoning the weak," Echo explained. "Your commander, Jake Martinez, was left to die by his own teammates. He was mocked and dismissed by his teachers. But he never let that turn him bitter. Instead, he learned to see the value in others that stronger people missed." Echo's knowledge began flowing to every ship in the fleet. Suddenly, human weapons became more powerful. Their shields got stronger. Their engines ran faster. But the real power came from something else. Jake had shown them how to work together in a way they never had before. Ships that used to compete with each other now covered each other's weaknesses. Captains who used to care only about their own glory now worked to help the whole fleet succeed. The Dominion fleet, which had been winning easily, suddenly found themselves fighting an enemy they didn't understand. The human ships moved like a school of fish, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. When one ship was in trouble, 5 others came to help. Captain Michelle Davis, who had complained about following Jake, found her ship surrounded by Dominion vessels. "This is the Thunder," she called out. "I'm taking heavy damage and need help." Immediately, Jake's voice came over the radio. "Grace Kim, coordinate rescue ships to the Thunder. Bobby Turner, find Captain Davis the best escape route. Linda Park, can we boost the Thunder's shields from other ships?" Within minutes, 4 smaller ships had surrounded the Thunder and were sharing their shield power with her. Captain Davis found herself safe when she should have been destroyed. "How did you know to do that?" she asked Jake. "Because leaving people behind is how we lose," Jake answered. "Helping each other is how we win." The Dominion commander, Vextar, watched his fleet struggle against enemies who should have been easy to defeat. These humans fought differently than any species he had conquered. When he destroyed one of their ships, the others didn't retreat in fear. Instead, they fought harder to protect each other. "Commander, one of his officers said. Their technology is somehow getting stronger during the battle, and they're coordinating better than our best computer systems. Vextar realized he was facing something new. These humans weren't just fighting for territory or resources, they were fighting for each other. The battle ended when Echo's final gift activated. Every human ship suddenly could see exactly where every Dominion ship would move next. It was like playing a game when you already knew all your opponent's moves. The Dominion fleet, which had never lost a battle, found themselves completely outmatched. Vextar ordered a retreat, something that shocked his own forces. As the alien ships fled, the human fleet celebrated. But Jake wasn't finished. All damaged ships, report your casualties, he ordered. We're not done until everyone is safe. Hours later, when the last wounded sailor had been rescued and every damaged ship was being repaired, Admiral Patterson called Jake to his flagship. "Cadet Martinez," the admiral said, "I owe you an apology. We all do." Jake shook his head. "You don't owe me anything, sir. We all learned something important today." "What's that?" Jake smiled, feeling Echo's warm presence in his mind. "That being strong isn't about being better than other people. It's about making other people better. And when we do that, we become stronger than anyone thought possible." From that day forward, Jake Martinez was known throughout the galaxy not as the weak cadet who barely passed training, but as the human who taught his entire species what real strength meant. And beside him always was Echo, the ancient ally who had waited eons to find a friend who understood that the greatest power comes from lifting others up instead of tearing them down.